of Science and Technology, Part 1. I am Vimla Verma from Vilepale East NPS Secondary. Today, we are going to learn some important questions of lesson number 5, that is heat, and we are going to solve SSC board exam paper 2020, and we will observe that how we have to give our answer in the exam. Okay, so let's begin with some important questions of lesson number 5, that is it. And most probably, the questions that is framed from this chapter is a 5 mark question. Most commonly, 5 mark questions are from this chapter. Okay, so in rare cases, very rarely, 3 mark questions can be asked from this chapter. So basically, we are going to focus on 5 mark type of questions in this module. So what kind of 5 mark questions can be framed from this chapter? Okay, so let's begin. The first question here is basically it is based on the diagrams or graphs which are given in your textbook. Observe the given figure and answer the following questions. So this figure is shown to you and you have to observe it and you have to give the answer of these 5 questions. So these 5 questions, each question carries 1 mark and it comes in 5 mark type of questions. Okay, so if you observe this graph, you can easily find out that this graph shows the change in physical state of water. Okay, as you can see in the graph, the x-axis it shows the time in minutes and the y-axis it shows the temperature in degree Celsius. Okay, so as you can see here, the part of the graph that is AB. Here, with the passage of time, the temperature of the ice it is not increasing. You can see it is at 0 degrees Celsius maintained till A to B. So in this case, you can see that the ice is melting, but the temperature is not changing. Okay, so from A to B, the physical state is changing from solid to liquid, but the temperature of the water it is not increasing. Okay, so the whatever heat we are going to give here, it is taken or you can say used to change the physical state of ice into water. It is not used to increase the temperature. And after that, from B to C, you can see the physical state is liquid, that is water. And here the heat supplied, it is used to increase the temperature of the water till 100 degrees Celsius. And as the temperature of water, it reached 100 degrees Celsius. Now you can see there is no further change in the temperature. The temperature is not increasing. It is maintained from C to D. You can observe here. It is 100 degrees Celsius maintained. And at this place, the physical state of water is changing from liquid to vapor. That is gas. So whatever heat we are going to supply here, it is used to change the physical state of water from water to vapor, not to increase the temperature. So this is the whole graph shown here, and on the basis of this graph, some questions are asked here. So what does graph shows? What does segment AB represent? What is melting point? Write the melting point of ice. What does segment BC represent? What does the segment CD relate to water? Okay, now let's see how we have to give the answer. You can see the first question, what does graph shows? You can see the graph shown is a temperature time graph. It is a temperature time graph in which it is shown that how the physical state of water is changing. Okay, next question, what does segment AB represent? AB shows that at constant temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, ice changes to water. You can see the segment AB. Here the physical state of ice, it is changing to water. Okay, the temperature is not changing here. Keep it in mind, the temperature is not changing here. So that means at constant temperature of 0 degrees Celsius. You can see the graph. It shows 0 degrees Celsius temperature. Okay. The next question is what is melting point? Write the melting point of ice. The temperature at which solid changes to liquid is called it melting point. And the melting point of ice is 0 degree Celsius. When such kind of questions are coming in your exam, in your answer sheet, you don't need to write down the questions. Only you have to write down the answers. Okay. Now, D question. What does segment BC represent? Now you can see here, segment BC, what it is representing? it shows increase in temperature from 0 degree Celsius to 100 degree Celsius. Sorry, it is wrong here. Here it is 100 degree Celsius. By mistake, it is 200 degrees Celsius. It is 100 degree Celsius, right? Without changes in state. Yani ki, that you can mean says that there is no change in the physical state. It is in liquid state. Only the temperature is changing from 0 degree Celsius to 100 degree Celsius. Okay. So what does the segment CD relate to water? So now if you observe the part of the graph that is CD, does the CD shows? CD shows the constant temperature that is 100 degrees Celsius. And here at this temperature, the water changes to vapor. Okay. I hope all of you understood this question and how you have to give the answer. Now let's move on to the second question. Explain the following graph. So same question can be asked in two ways. As we have saw the first one, now this is the second one. It is the explanation type of question. Only the graph is given to you and you have to explain the whole graph. Separate, or you can say some questions are not asked in this question. So okay, so how to explain? The graph shown is temperature time graph. AB shows that at constant temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, ice changes to water. The temperature at which ice changes to water is called melting point, and melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius. Now, water at 0 degrees Celsius, it starts heating and its temperature gradually increases to 100 degrees Celsius. If we keep on heating the ice, its temperature will gradually increase to 100 degrees Celsius, and this BC segment, it shows increase in temperature from 0 to 100 degrees Celsius without change in state. And this CD, it shows that at constant temperature of 100 degrees Celsius, water changes to vapor. Okay. So the temperature at which water changes to vapor is called its boiling point, and boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. So I hope all of you understood that how the same question can be asked in two different ways and how to give their answer. Now moving on to the next type of question, which is from this chapter. Identify and explain the process shown in the given figure. So you can see here in the figure there is a big block of ice which is kept on the table, and it is a thread, or you can say a string, which is hang or from both the sides with the help of a heavy weight. Okay, you can see two weights are tied along with the string and they are kept alongside the ice block. Okay, so what this process shows, the process shown is an example of regeneration. Okay, regeneration process is shown here. As you can see, due to weight tied, the wire exerts pressure on the surface of the slab. You can see this wire, it will exert pressure on the slab, and because of this high pressure, the melting point of ice get decreased, and due to this the ice melts. So the part of this ice, it will start melting and it will get converted into water. Okay, and because of which the wire, it will sink into the water, and as water it comes up and string, it will go down. There will be no pressure on it, and it again, it will turn to the ice. This phenomena, it keeps on continuing till the wire passes through the ice slab. In this way, the wire moves through the ice slab without breaking it, and this phenomena is called regeneration. I think all of you have observed that gola which you eat. It is also a phenomena of regeneration that is used there. They crush the ice, and after that, after applying the pressure with their hands, they again convert them into ice. This is also an example of regeneration. Okay. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. Identify and explain the process shown in the given graph. As you can see, the graph, it is shown here. Okay, it is between the temperature and volume. Now you can see here at this 4 degrees Celsius, how the graph is, it goes down and after that it increases. Okay, so if you have studied this chapter and this graph, you will easily understand that, and you will find out that this graph, it shows the anomalous behavior of water. So as water at 0 degrees Celsius, it is heated up to 4 degrees Celsius, it contracts, and instead of expanding, normally what we observe that when we heat something, it expands, its volume increases. But the water shows it anomalous behavior between 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. When we increase the temperature of water from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, instead of expanding, it contracts. So that means its volume decreases. So that is shown here. So from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, as we are increasing the temperature, you can see the volume of water it is decreasing till 4 degrees Celsius. And after 4 degrees Celsius, as we are keep on heating the water, it shows the normal behavior. Okay, after 4 degrees Celsius, it shows the normal behavior. With the increase in temperature, its volume increases. So between the temperature range of 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, the water shows anomalous behavior. Okay, and so we can say that at 4 degrees Celsius, the volume of water is minimum. It is a 1 mark kind of question, that at what temperature the water has minimum volume. So you have to write down at 4 degrees Celsius, the water has minimum volume. Okay, after that, after 4 degrees Celsius, if we are going to further heat it, it expands and its volume increases. So the exceptional behavior which water shows between 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, it is called anomalous behavior of water. So it can also be asked in 1 mark kind of question. Write down the temperature range in which the water shows anomalous behavior. So you have to mention that between 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, water shows anomalous behavior. Okay. So from graph, we come to know that if water is heated from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, it contracts instead of expanding. Okay, so because of which at 4 degrees Celsius it has minimum volume. But if we are talking about the density, at 4 degrees Celsius the water has maximum density, because we know that density is inversely proportional to the volume. Okay, so at 4 degrees Celsius, minimum volume and maximum density. Okay, this point is very important for this kind of question. Now, next question. Observe the given figure and answer the following questions. So if you observe the figure, you can easily identify the figure that this is the figure of Hope's apparatus. Okay. So here some questions are asked based on this diagram. Identify the figure shown. So the figure shown is Hope's apparatus. Name the phenomena studied with the help of Hope's apparatus. With this apparatus, what kind of phenomena is studied with this apparatus? So we just studied anomalous behavior of water is studied with the help of this apparatus. Now state the phenomena. So here we are going to define anomalous behavior of water. Okay. So in general, when a liquid is heated up to a certain temperature, it expands. And when it's cooled, it contracts. Water, however, contracts instead of expanding when heated from 0 degrees Celsius up to 4 degrees Celsius. If the water is heated above 4 degrees Celsius, it expands. The behavior of water between its temperature from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius is called anomalous behavior of water. Okay, so you have to learn this definition. Now, let's move on to the next question. What is the role of anomalous behavior of water in preserving aquatic life in regions of cold climate? Okay, as you can see in some of the places like polar regions or like Kashmir and Ladakh, the temperature goes below 0 degrees Celsius, sometimes minus temperature goes on there. So how the life is possible there in water? Okay, basically in lakes or rivers, because below 0 degrees Celsius, the water it changes into ice. So how the life is possible inside that lake or water? Okay, because you know that life is also present inside the water. Lots of different kind of fishes and the plants they live inside the water. Then how it is possible for them to live inside that water if the ice gets converted into ice? Okay, so the anomalous behavior of water is responsible for their survival. This anomalous behavior of water is very helpful in the survival of the aquatic life inside the water, basically in cold regions. So how you have to give the answer? In cold countries during winter, the temperature of air it falls to 0 degrees Celsius or even below. As the temperature of the air it decreases, the water at the surface of the lake begins to contract, due to which its density increases. So as you know that the upper surface of water it is in directly contact with the air. So when the temperature of the air it will decrease, the upper surface of the water it will get colder first in comparison to the lower part of the water. So because of which it starts contracting. Okay, because as we just studied from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, it shows anomalous behavior. Okay, so now as you can see, when the temperature of water falls below 4 degrees Celsius, then due to its anomalous behavior, the water expands instead of contracting. Okay, as the temperature of water falls to 0 degrees Celsius, the water on the surface of the lake gets converted to ice. Since ice is a bad conductor of heat, the water below the ice layer continues to remain at 4 degrees Celsius even though the temperature of the water may fall below 0 degrees Celsius. As you can see here, the top four part of the water, it gets converted into ice at 0 degrees Celsius. And as it is said that water is a ice is a bad conductor of heat, so it doesn't allow the low temperature to pass through it, okay, to the lower part of the water. And because of which at the lower part of the water, the temperature is maintained at 4 degrees Celsius, and the living organisms which are present in it, they are able to survive. Okay. Next question is, hence in cold regions in winter, the pipes for water supply break and even rock crack. So during winter season in cold countries, the temperature of atmosphere falls to 0 degrees Celsius or even below. Therefore, the temperature of water inside the pipeline also decreases. When the temperature of the water falls below 4 degrees Celsius, it starts expanding instead of contracting due to anomalous behavior of water. Since there is no place for water to expand, it exerts tremendous pressure on the walls of the pipeline and causing them to burst. Hence, in water, the pipeline carrying water bursts in cold countries. Next question, study the following procedure and answer the questions below. You can observe this diagram. It is also given in your textbook. So based on this diagram, this is a question from here. Take 3 spheres of iron, copper and lead of equal mass. Put all the 3 spheres in boiling water in the beaker for some time. If it is boiling water, that means its temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. That means we are heating all these 3 spheres up to 100 degrees Celsius, right? Take the 3 spheres out of the water, put them immediately on a thick slab of wax. This is a thick slab of wax. Okay, after heating all the 3 spheres of lead, copper, and iron up to 100 degrees Celsius, what we have to do? We have to immediately keep it on the wax. Okay, I hope all of you know wax, the candles, it starts melting. Okay, so note the depth that each of the sphere does goes into the wax. Now you can observe here iron, copper, and lead. All these spheres, they melt the wax because of their high temperature, and because of that, they go deep inside the wax. But the depth they pass through the wax, it is different. You can observe here iron, it covers more depth, copper, it is in between, and lead, it is at the least. Now, based on this phenomena, there are some questions asked here. Which property of a substance can be studied with this procedure? So you can see here specific heat capacity of a substance can be studied with this procedure. So you have to remember this term, specific heat capacity. Next question is, describe that property in minimum words. So you have to explain here the specific heat capacity in minimum words. The sphere which absorbs more heat from the water will give more heat to wax. So more wax will thus melt and the sphere will go deeper in the wax. Okay. So iron sphere, it goes deepest into the wax. Lead sphere goes least, and the copper sphere, it goes intermediate depth. So this is due to different specific heat capacities of materials. Though same heat was provided to them for same amount of time, but heat absorbing capacity differs from material to material. So in this experiment, we observe that the heat absorbing capacity, it is maximum for which? Maximum for iron. So it can absorb maximum amount of heat. That's why it gives more heat to the well. But lead, it absorbs less heat, and because of which it gives less heat to the well. Okay. Now explain the rule of heat exchange with this property. When a hot body is kept in contact with a cold body, then the quantity of heat lost by hot body is equal to the quantity of heat gained by the cold body. This we studied with the help of this experimental setup. Now, next question. Read the paragraph and answer the following question. You can see there is a diagram is also given here. One hot object and one cold object both are kept in contact in a isolated box. Okay. Now, if heat is exchanged between a hot and cold object, the temperature of the cold object goes on increasing due to gain of energy, and the temperature of the hot object goes on decreasing due to loss of energy. The change in temperature continues till the temperature of both the objects attain the same value. In this process, the cold object gains the heat energy and the hot object loses heat energy. If the system of both the objects is isolated from the environment by keeping it inside a heat resistant box, then no energy can flow from inside the box or come into the box. So you can observe here whenever we keep a hot object along with the cold object, the hot object it transfers its energy to the cold object, and because of which the temperature of the cold object increases and the temperature of the hot object it decreases because it giving energy to the cold object, right? And this transfer of energy it continues till both the objects they acquire the same temperature. Understood? And here these two objects they are kept in a isolated box. That means no energy will be lost from these objects to outside environment, and from the outside environment no heat can interfere in between their heat transfer. Okay. So I hope all of you understood this passage. Now let's see what kind of questions can be framed based on this paragraph. Now let's see. First question is heat is transferred from where to where? So we have just studied that heat gets transferred from hot object to the cold object. Which principle do we learn about from this process? We learn principle of heat exchange from this process. How will you state the principle briefly? So we have to explain here the principle of heat exchange in brief. So the principle of heat exchange states that if heat is exchanged between a hot and a cold object, then heat energy lost by hot object is equal to the heat energy gained by the cold object. Which property of the substance is measured using this principle? Using this principle, the specific heat capacity of a substance can be measured. Okay. Now, next question. Answer the following question. When heat energy is absorbed by object, delta T represents the raise in temperature. This delta means change in temperature. Okay. So, what would be delta T represent if the object loses heat energy? So, when object loses heat energy, delta T represents the decrease in temperature. So this delta T is used for both the processes when heat is increased or when heat is lost. Both is shown by this delta T. Okay. What is meant by latent heat? The quantity of heat absorbed or released by a substance to change its state at a constant temperature is called latent heat. Latent heat is also called as hidden heat because we know that whenever we heat something, the temperature of that object increases, right? So, but in latent heat, normally what happens, the physical state of any substance it changes. As we have studied that just in the first question, that when we heat ice, it gets converted into water. Okay, but from in the graph A to B, the temperature is not increasing. So the amount of heat given is used to change the physical state. Okay, and during that time there is no increase in temperature shown, right? That amount of heat we use by the substance to change the state called as latent heat, or you can say the heated heat. Okay. Next, while deciding the unit for heat, which temperature interval is chosen? So 1 mark for 1 mark question. This is also very important. So which temperature range is chosen here? 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius is chosen while deciding the unit of heat. So you have to remember this temperature range. What is meant by specific heat capacity? The quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of unit mass of substance through 1 degree Celsius is called specific heat capacity. State the relation between the kilocalorie and the calorie. 1 kilocalorie is equal to 1000 calorie. Okay, that's all about the important questions of lesson number 5, that is it. Now we are going to discuss the question paper of March 2020. That means this is the last year's board paper that we are going to discuss, and how we have to write down our answers in the exam. That I am also going to explain you here. So the duration of your exam is 2 hours, maximum 40, and in the beginning of your question paper there are some instructions given, and when you get your board exam paper it is given with 10 minutes. Okay, if your exam is going to start at 10, you will get the paper at 9:50, before 10 minutes, so that you can get the time to read the questions. Okay, so you will get it before 10 minutes, so you will get the time to read all the instructions given to you, and you can go through the question papers. You can decide which question you are going to attempt and which question you are not going to attempt. So you can get sufficient time for uh, deciding all these things. So now let's see what are the instructions given here. All questions are compulsory. Use of a calculator is not allowed. The numbers to the right of the question indicate full marks. In case of MCQ, multiple choice question number 1A, only the first attempt will be evaluated and will be given credit. That means in case of MCQ, when you are sure, then only mention the answer. Otherwise, if you once gave the answer, you cut it and you then change it, then you will not get the mark. Okay, only for the first attempt. The answer which you are going to write down the first time, for that you will get the mark. For each MCQ, the correct alternative A, B, C, D with the question number is to be written as an answer. That means you don't need to write down the full sentence, or you don't need to write down the answer. Only you have to mention question number 1, the correct option is A. Question number 2, the correct option is B. Question number 3, the correct option is C. That's it. You don't have to write down the full answer or full sentence. Okay. Scientifically correct label diagrams should be drawn wherever necessary. Okay, so wherever, if you find out that in this question you need to draw a diagram, so you can draw it by yourself. It is not mentioned in the question paper, then also, if you feel like so, you can draw it. Okay. Now, this is the question number 1. As you all know that in the paper pattern, question number 1 has two parts. Question number 1A and question number B. 1B. Okay, so the question number 1A is a multiple type of questions. That means here 5 questions are given, and for each question you are going to get 4 options. Out of these 4 options, you have to mention one correct answer. Okay, and there is no option here. All the 5 parts are compulsory. That means if you are not able to give answer of any one question, you will be losing 1 mark. Okay, so you have to compulsory attempt all the 5 questions. Now, how to write down the answer in your answer sheet? You can see here in your answer sheet on the left hand side, there is a big box given on every answer sheet page. So you have to mention here which question you are going to attempt. Okay, so question number 1, A part you are going to do, and how do you have to write down the answer? You can see first part, you can see here the first one, which what is the correct answer. You have to just write down the options. You don't need to write down the full answer. In this way, you have to represent your answer of question number 1A. So let's see the question number 1. According to Mendeleev's periodic law, properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. So the correct option is B. So what you will write? Question number 1, A. First one, answer is B. Then second, the vapor content in the air is measured using a physical quantity called absolute humidity. So the correct option is A here. So you will write down second A. Third, for the normal human eye, the near point is at 25 centimeters. So the correct option is C here. So third, fourth, the astronomical object closest to us is moon. Okay, so the correct option is D. So fourth, D. In the Wilfley table method, the particles of gas are separated by dashed separation method. So it is used by gravitational separation method. So correct option is D here. So you have to write down fifth D. Okay, so in this way you represent your answers and don't forget to leave one line between the answers. Write down first answer, leave one line, second, leave one line, third, leave one line, fourth, leave one line, and fifth, then leave one line. And on the same page, you can also start writing the answer question number 1B. Below the same question number 1A, you can also write down the answer of question number 1B. And as also all of you know that you have to start a new question from new page. Always start a new question from new page. Don't forget to do that. Okay, as because question number one, A and B, they are the part of the same question, so you can continue on the same page. Okay. Now you can see question number 1B part, answer the following. So in this question, you are not going to get any fill in the blank. You will not get any fill in the blank. And here also it carries 5 marks. And all the 5 questions, they are compulsory and there is no option in it. Okay. So if you are not able to give any answer here, you will lose 1 mark here. Okay. That's why it is suggested that prepare all the objective questions from all the 10 chapters. That's why, so that you can get total full marks 10 out of 10 in your objective. Okay, the question number one is find the odd one out. Voltmeter, ammeter, thermometer, galvanometer. So the correct answer here is thermometer. So how you have to write question number one, B, the first option, first question, answer thermometer. That's it. Second, complete the correlation. Alkene, it has carbon-carbon double bond. Alkynes, they have carbon-carbon triple bond. So you have to write down the full correlation here in this way. There was no space, so I used 2 lines. You have to continue in the same line. Okay. Straight true or false? The frequency of AC is 50 hertz. It's true. So you don't need to write the complete sentence. Third, true. That's it. Fourth, match the columns, column A and column B. The wavelength of red light. 3 options are given here. So you have to write down answer like this. Fourth, the wavelength of red light is equal to 700 nanometers. Okay. Name the first artificial satellite sent by Russia in space. Sputnik 1 is the first artificial satellite by Russia in space. In this way, you have to write down all the 5 answers. You can continue question number 1 AB on the same page. Leave one line between 2 questions. Okay. So this will be all done in your one page. Okay. After that, when you are going to start question number 2, start from a new page. So question number 2 also it has 2 sections, question number 2A and question number 2B. So question number 2A is give scientific reasons and 3 questions will be asked to you, and out of these 3 you have to do only 2 questions. Any 2 questions you have to decide by yourself which one you want to attempt, and accordingly you answer it. Okay, but write down the question accordingly. If you are attempting the first one, write down question number 2A first. And if you are attempting the third one, so what you have to write down? Question number 2A third, right? Don't mention, don't write down the second one. Okay, if you are not attempting it, mention the question number along with the question what is given in your textbook. Sorry, question paper. Now let's see the first question. The weight of an object changes from place to place, but its mass is constant. Actually, the section of mass and weight for this year it is eliminated from your syllabus, but still I am going to explain it. So the weight being a force is a vector quantity and its direction is towards the center of earth. As the value of G is not same everywhere, the weight of an object changes from place to place. Mass is a scalar quantity. Its value is same everywhere. Its value does not change even when we go to another planet. Therefore, the weight of an object changes from place to place though its mass is constant. Okay. Next question. Stars twinkle, but we not see that twinkling of planets. So stars are self luminous and can be seen at night in absence of sunlight. We all know that stars they have light, but planets they do not have any light. They just shine because of the reflection of light given by the star. Okay, so they appear to be point sources as they are at very large distance from us. The apparent position of the star keeps changing a bit because of the motion of atmospheric air and changing air density and temperature. Because of the continuously changing refractive index of the air, the position and brightness of the star keeps changing, and so the stars appear to be twinkling. As compared to this, planets are much closer to us as compared to stars. Therefore, they do not appear as point sources but appear as a collection of point sources. Changes in atmospheric refractive index changes the position as well as brightness of the individual point source. But the average position and total brightness remains unchanged. As a result of this, planets do not twinkle. Then third question, elements belonging to the same group have the same valency. Chapter number 2 is very important for give reasons. One question will definitely come from the second chapter. Okay, for give reasons. So prepare all the give reasons of the second chapter which are given in your textbook. So valency is the number of electrons donated, accepted or shared by the atoms of an element so to complete the octet in the outermost orbit. Valency is dependent upon the number of electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom called valence electrons. Elements in the same group have same number of valence electrons irrespective of number of orbits. Hence, elements in the same group have the same valency. Okay, now let's begin. Question number 2, B section. In the B section, there are total 5 questions given to you. Out of these 5 questions, you have to solve any 3 questions and each question carries 2 marks. Okay, so you can see here there is a one numerical problem given to you, and whenever numerical problem is going to come in your board exam, it is based on direct formulas. Okay, now look at the question. How much heat energy is necessary to raise the temperature of 5 kg of water from 20 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius? So first of all, you have to write down what is given. The mass of water is given 5 kg. Okay, and the specific heat of water, it is 1 kilocalorie per kg degree Celsius. It is not mentioned here, but you should also always remember that the specific heat of water is always 1 kilocalorie per kg degree Celsius. Okay. Now, what is the change in temperature? That is delta T. You can see from 20 to 100 degrees Celsius, the temperature is increasing. So, what is the change? So 100 minus 20, that is 80 degrees Celsius is the change in the temperature. Now we just studied that energy to be supplied to water is equal to energy gained by the water. So how can you calculate this? Mass of water multiplied by specific heat of water multiplied by change in temperature of water. We have also studied the formula mc delta T. Mass, specific heat and change in the temperature. So mass of water is 5. Specific heat of water is 1 and change in temperature is 80. So when we are going to multiply it, we are going to get 400 kilocalories. That means high heat energy necessary to raise the temperature of water is 400 kilocalories. So all the steps while solving the numerical problem is important because each step carries half mark. So here half marks is given for the formula, half marks for putting the values, half marks for the calculation, and half marks for the concluding sentence which you write at the end of the answer. Okay, so don't forget to write this concluding sentence. It carries half marks. Okay. Next, question number 2. Observe the given figure of Fleming's right hand rule and write the labels of A and B correctly. So all of you can observe this. This is the right hand Fleming's rule. So as it is already drawn in the question paper, you don't need to draw this diagram again in your answer sheet because it takes too much of time in drawing the hand. So it's how to represent its answer. As you can see, the first column it is shown by A, the second column it is shown by B. So simply you have to write down that you have to mention the question number. A, it shows the direction of magnetic field. B, it shows the direction of induced current. Okay, that's it. In this way, you have to represent your answer. Don't need to draw the diagram. Okay. Now moving on to the third question. Again, we just solved this question. Observe the given graph and answer the following questions. So as observing the diagram, you can easily identify that in this figure, what is shown? This shows the anomalous behavior of water. The first question, name the process represented in the figure. So how to represent the answer? Question number B, A, given graph depicts anomalous behavior of water. Now second, at what temperature does this process take place? This process takes place at the temperature between 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now fourth question, complete the given chemical reaction. So you have to complete the reaction and name the type of reaction. So you can see here copper sulfate plus iron. So we have studied the reactivity series, and in that what we have studied that iron is more reactive than copper. So iron will displace copper from the copper sulfate solution and it will form ferrous sulfate plus copper. Okay. So this type of reaction is called displacement reaction. The same reaction can also come in your exam with the help of the test tube, right? In some of the practice tests, you might have seen that there are two test tubes kept, and in one test tube there is a copper sulfate solution and a iron nail is dipped in it, and in the other one, a copper wire is taken and it is dipped in a ferrous sulfate solution, and it is asked that in which test tube the reaction will take place. Write down the balanced chemical reaction and what kind of reaction it is. Right? So the same question can be asked in different ways. Okay. Now next, write a short note on alloying. So a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals or a metal and non-metal in a definite proportion is called an alloy. The physical properties of an alloy are different from those of its constituents. Alloys are corrosion resistant. Alloy decreases the intensity of corrosion of metals. For example, brass is made from copper and zinc. 90% copper, 10% tin are used to make an alloy called bronze. Stainless steel is made from 74% iron, 8% carbon, and 18% chromium. Okay. Now, next question is question number 3. Here you will get total 8 questions, and out of 8 questions, you have to attempt any 5. And all these 5 questions each will carry 3 marks. And 3 5s are 15. Total 15 marks question is here. Now, let's see the first question. An element has its electronic configuration 2A2. Now answer the following questions. What is the atomic number of this element? So in order to find out the atomic number, you have to add all the electrons in the electronic configuration. So 8 plus 2, 10, 10 plus 2, 12. So 12 is the electronic atomic number of the element. What is the group of this element? So in order to find out the group, we have to observe the number of electrons in the outermost shell. So if there are 2 electrons, that means it belongs to second group. If there are only 1 electron in the outermost shell, that means it belongs to the first group. Okay. And after that, if there are 3 electrons, that means 13th group, 4 electrons, 14th group, 5 electrons, 15th, 6 electrons, 16th, 7 electrons, 17th, and if there are 8 electrons in the outermost shell, it belongs to 18th group of the periodic table. Okay. Now the last question, to which period does the element belong? In order to find out the number of periods, you have to look how many shells are present in the electronic configuration. So we can find out there 1, 2, 3 shells are present, right? That means this element belongs to the third period. If there are only 2 shells, that means it belongs to second period. Okay. Now, question number 2. Observe the given figure showing the orbit of a planet moving around the sun and write the 3 laws related to it. From the first chapter, that is gravitation, Kepler's law is very important for you. So learn all the 3 laws. It can ask in different ways, but it will definitely come in your exam. Okay, so don't forget to learn Kepler's law. Okay, so you can see here the figure shows Kepler's law. Kepler's 3 laws are as follows. The first law says, and don't change the order of the laws. Huh? This is the first law, this is the second law, and this is the third law. You can't keep the third law at the first place. Don't change their places. So the orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. As you can see, the orbit of a planet, this is the planet A, which is shown here. The orbit of the planet is an ellipse. You can see it is the elliptical shape. It is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. Okay, that means the sun is present at the focus of the planet. right? The second law says the line joining the planet and the sun. Here, see, this is the line joining the planet and the sun. Three equal areas in equal intervals of time. You can see there are different areas shown here. This one area, this is the other area, this is the third area. So we are going to calculate these three areas for equal interval of time. All these three areas will remain equal. Okay, the third law says the square of its period of revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of planet from the sun. That means t square is directly proportional to r cube. Question number 3, read the given passage and answer the following questions. The passage says the home electrical connection consists of live, neutral and earth wires. The live and the neutral wires have potential difference of 220 volts. The earth is connected to ground. Due to a fault in the equipment or if the plastic coating in the live wire and the neutral wire gives way, the two wires come in contact with each other and a large current flows through it, producing heat. If any inflammable material such as wood, cloth, plastic, etc. exists around that place, it can catch fire. Therefore, a fuse wire is used as a precautionary measure. So now three questions are asked based on it. Name the two wires having potential difference of 220 volts. You can see here. What are the two wires? Live wire and the neutral wires, they have potential difference of 220 volts. Now the question is asked, what is short circuit? You will get the answer here in the passage. What happens here? Due to fault in the equipment or if the plastic coating on the live and the neutral wire gives way, the two wires come in contact with each other and a large current flows through it, producing heat. And because of which, if any inflammable material comes in contact with it, it catches fire. This is called as short circuit. Okay. Now write a function of fuse. What is fuse? You can see here a fuse protects electrical circuits and appliances by stopping the flow of electric current when it exceeds as specified value. For this, it is connected in series with the appliance to be protected. A fuse is a piece of wire made of an alloy of no melting point. If a current larger than the specified value flows through the fuse, its temperature increases enough to melt it. Hence, the circuit breaks and the appliance is protected from damage. Fourth question, observe the given figure and answer the following question. You can see the figure here. Now the question asked is name the processes represented by the figure. So we have to write down the answer. The given figure represents the process of reflection of light. Second question states the two laws related to the process. The laws of reflection of light. The first law says the incident ray, you can see this is the incident ray and this is the reflected ray. So both the rays, they are opposite of the normal. This is the normal CD. So incident ray and reflected ray both are opposite to the normal, to the surface of the point of incidence, and all the three, that is incident ray, normal ray and reflected ray, both of all the three are on the same plane. Now the second law says for a given pair of medium, the ratio of sine of the angle of incidence to the sine of the angle of reflection is constant. This is also called as Snell's law. This constant is called the refractive index of second medium with respect to the first medium. Next question, what is an artificial satellite? Name any two types of artificial satellites and state their functions. So a man-made object orbiting the Earth or any other planet is called an artificial satellite. The two types of satellites and their functions. There are lots of satellites given in your textbook and their functions are also given. You can select any two types and you have to mention it here. So first one I took here is weather satellite. Weather satellites collect the information regarding weather conditions of the region. It records temperature, air pressure, wind direction, humidity, cloud cover, etc. This information is sent to the Space Research Station on the Earth, and then with this information, weather forecast is made. Now, the second satellite is communication satellite. In order to establish communication between different places on the Earth through mobile phones or computer assisted internet, communication satellites are used. Many artificial satellites placed at various locations in the Earth's orbit are well interconnected and help us to have communication with any place. from anywhere at any time and in any form, including voicemail, email, photographs, audio mail, etc. Okay. Next question, answer the following questions. Define hydrocarbons. The compounds containing only carbon and hydrogen are called hydrocarbons. Name the types of hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are of two types, saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Name two carbon compounds used in day-to-day life. So we use lots of carbon compounds in our day-to-day life. So first one is methane, sugar, cooking gas, ethanol, and so on. Now next question, observe the given figure of reactivity series of metals and answer the following questions. You can observe the reactivity series here. You can see here the first four elements which are written with black, they are highly reactive. Below that, which are written with pink color, they are moderately, that means medium reactive. And at the lowest part, that is copper, mercury, silver, written in black color, they are least reactive. And the gold, it is at the last. That means it is the least reactive metal in the reactivity series. The first question asked is here, name two metals which react with water. So you can see here, react with water, right? So you can see the highly reactive metals. So potassium, sodium, lithium, calcium, all these four elements, they react with water. So out of these four, you can write down any two. Sodium and potassium I took here are the metals which react with water. Second question, name two moderately reactive metals. So you can see all these pink colored metals, they are moderately reactive. So out of these, you can write down any two. Okay, so aluminium, iron, zinc, and lead, they are moderately reactive metals. Then name the most highly reactive metal and most less reactive metal. So you can see at the top of the reactivity series is the highly reactive metal, that is potassium, and at the lowest part, that is gold, this is the least reactive metal. Okay. Next question, complete the following table. So if you observe that following table, you can see it is directly given from the textbook. This table is given in your textbook. So straight chain carbon compounds, this is the carbon skeleton shown here. In the next one is structural formula, and here molecular formula, and here the name of the compounds is given. And here the blanks are given where you have to fill. So while doing this question, you have to make the table in your answer sheet. You have to make the whole table in your answer sheet, and then you have to fill in the blank at whatever place it is given here. So as you can see, I have done this for you. So this is the carbon skeleton, and how to write down the structural formula. As you know that carbon is a tetravalent, its valency is 4. So it can form 4 bonds around it. So if you look at here, this carbon, it is bonded with one more carbon and its one valency is satisfied. So out of 4, if one valency is satisfied, how many are left? Only 3 are left, right? So one is already satisfied, 3 are left. So you have to make 3 bonds and you have to attach hydrogen over there. On the other carbon also, one valency is already satisfied, 3 are left, right? So you have to attach 3 hydrogens to it, right? So now how to write down the molecular formula? So how many carbons are there? 2 carbons, C2. How many hydrogens are there? If we are going to calculate 3 here and 3 here, that means 6 carbons. So C2H6 is the molecular formula. Okay. Now how to write down the name? As we have studied that 2 carbons H, and if all the bonds are single between carbon and carbon, we have to write down A. That is ethane. Then for carbon having 3 carbon atoms in a chain, again we have to do the same strategy here. We have to count the number of bonds around a carbon atom. So here in the first one, you can see one valence is already satisfied, 3 are left. So along with the first carbon, we have to attach 3 hydrogens. And at the second one, you can see 2 valencies are satisfied out of 4. So only 2 are left, right? So we are going to attach 2 hydrogens at top and bottom, right? In the last one, you can see again only one valence is satisfied, 3 are left. So we will attach 3 hydrogens here. Okay, now write down the molecular formula. How many carbons? 3 carbons, so C3. How many hydrogens? 3 here and 3 here, 6 plus 2, 8. C3H8. So now the name prop for 3 carbons, and as all the bonds between carbon and carbon, they are single. So this is ane, that is propane. Now here for the 4 carbon atoms, now you have to write down the molecular formula. Structural formula is already given. So how many carbons? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 carbons and how many hydrogens? Count the number of hydrogens attached to the carbon, it is 10. Okay. And for 4 carbons, we write down bu, and as all the bonds, they are single, so we will write butane. Okay, so this is butane. Now moving on to the question number 4, that is the last question. It carries 5 marks and 2 questions will be given to you and you have to attempt only one question. The first question is draw a scientifically correct label diagram of a human eye and answer the questions based on it. First question is name the type of lens in the human eye. Name the screen at which the maximum amount of incident light is reflected. State the nature of the image formed of the object on the screen inside the eye. Okay. Now this is the diagram. You have to draw it, make it practice of this diagram from your textbook. So the type of lens in the human eye is double convex, transparent, crystalline lens. The screen at which the maximum amount of incident light is reflected, that is cornea. This white part is called cornea, as you can see. The nature of the image formed of the object on the screen inside the eye is real and inverted image.